Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust here with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, big news for Oregon football fans. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports reporting head coach Dan Lanning has agreed to a new deal that will raise his salary to nearly $11 million a year. Pending board approval, the deal will run through the 2030 season, and his buyout stays at $20 million. Over in the association, the Trailblazers are off tonight. They wrap up their road trip tomorrow in Oklahoma City against the Thunder. The Blazers are 28-35 on the season. That is 4 games out of the final play-in spot. And in the NFL, ESPN's Field Yates reporting the Browns have restructured the contract of quarterback Deshaun Watson, clearing nearly $36 million in cap space. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the 49ers have told defensive tackle Javon Hargrove he will be released on the first day of the league year next week. And late last night, the Chargers released outside linebacker Joey Bosa, saving them over $25 million against the cap. Round 1 of the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. It is a PGA Tour signature event. We have a 3-way tie at the top of the leaderboard. Keegan Bradley, Denny McCarthy, and Max Grazerman, 3 under par. They are 1 stroke ahead of... It's a big logjam here. Cam Davis, Siwoo Kim, Mackenzie Hughes, Corey Connors, Russell Henley, and former Oregon Duck Wyndham Clark. Also Patrick Cantlay, Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, Justin Rose. They are all 2 strokes off the pace, tied for 11th. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
Meringatang is going to be a thing.
You're not coining anything new.
With Danny Meringue and Dusty, the Fan Man Hera.
I'll throw some monkey sounds in there and call it good.
The old Danny Meringue pie?
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
The Fan.
Good afternoon! Hey, welcome in. Happy Thursday, everybody. Danny and Dusty with ya. How's the party people doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
You good?
You kidding me? Driving in with the windows down, the sun kind of hitting you. I love that.
Rolling with a little Alan Parsons project.
Jeff Russ over there tapping that roof.
That's your go-to on a sunny day.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, as much
little
as
eye in the sky.
As much as I'm metal guy, when it does get nice out, it switches to hip hop very quickly.
Hip hop is good. You get a little upbeat. I go.
Little DJ Tiesto.
What? Oh, God.
Couple glow sticks.
No, that is so bad.
Glow sticks and a pacifier.
House music? No, never. House music is bottom of the barrel for me.
One of my best friends.
Yeah.
We were stationed in Texas together. His parents, he had a Toyota MR2 convertible. This is in West Texas, middle of nowhere. He loved house music. And we
awful.
Oh, dude, we would drive around West Texas where it's nothing but huge pickup trucks and country music. And I will never forget just this strange contrast. Sitting in this little 2-seat sports car, New York plates, and he's just blaring some Tiesto. Awful. And this like K10 Blazer on 44s rolls up with the cab off the camper shell off the back, playing the loudest country ever. And it was hilarious. We just kind of looked at each other and we both packed a lip at the same time, just nodded and kept going. But it was just like, it was the most like, you couldn't find 2 people more different in that particular place at the same time. And it was just like, that image is forever burned into my head.
It's terrible music, house music.
Yeah.
Look, it's not my
It's
thing,
terrible.
But he had a car when nobody, because he'd go from for basic training to tech school. He had a car like the first month we were there. So
times are good.
You put up with whatever music is played.
Yeah,
The other go-to on a sunny day is the old Me First and the Gimme Gimmes playlist.
I'll go Sublime. I like Sublime is good on a sunny day.
Do you practice Santeria?
I ain't got no crystal ball. But if I had $1 million,
I'd spend it all.
there you go. Sublime like 90s hip hop.
Lot of 90s hip-hop.
We'll go.
California
will go
Love always sneaks in there somehow.
the Eagles. You throw a little Eagles in there.
I'll
Taking
take
a
it
run
on
there. Well, then of course
The
there's
Beach
always,
Boys.
Yeah,
The
well,
Beach
then
Boys.
of
Jimmy
course,
Buffett.
I'm not a big
There's
Boys
always
guy.
there's always channel 311 on the old Sirius XM, which is of course the Yacht Rock channel.
It's not. They don't just play 311.
Somehow that channel is 311 and it's Yacht Rock. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. There's no Amber or anything. Amber ain't got no energy on that channel.
Somehow they're not going to play that one song
It's just on repeat.
over and over.
That would be a good bit. Like, if you,
again.
well, look,
There's
hear that
probably
song.
2 or 3. You got
Yeah.
Amber, you got Down,
Every March
you
11th,
got-
it just turns to 311.
you got Amber, you got Down, and you got Amber, and you got Down.
Yeah, you got. Here's a good one on the fan text line. Bob Marley. Yeah,
Never been a Bob guy.
Jamming, dude.
I'm not a
Three Little Birds. Let's go.
It's not that I'm not a it's not that I'm not a Bob fan. Bob is great, but I'm not going to go seek it out.
Y'all
Does that make
obviously
sense? Like
didn't
I'll
go
listen
to
to
It
it.
is-
directional school.
Yeah,
I'll listen to it.
I mean, exactly. That's the thing. Is like
All right, listen.
if
And I was in the
it's-
pot smoking fraternity at college, so there was a lot of reggae
yeah,
going
I
on
would
around
say,
that
like,
house.
if it's music that is generally associated with rolling a blunt, it's just not my jam. It's just not. That's fine.
But if it's rolling a body into the back of a trunk, Danny's in.
the bodies on the floor, baby. Let the bodies at the floor.
All right. Well, it's a beautiful little day here. We're gonna get a little. I got one foot out the door. I'm out tomorrow.
You are out tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm out tomorrow.
I lose.
Why
I
am
lose
I
my.
the last to know this?
I have.
yeah.
I actually told you this last week.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yep.
It
All
happens.
right. Well,
Yeah.
No, it happens. No, I'm losing you tomorrow,
Yeah.
and my wife's heading out for 10 days tomorrow. So,
Unrelated.
yeah, no. What's
Unrelated.
going on here, man?
I'm just gone for the weekend. I got one foot out. I'm heading over to Eastern Oregon. So deuces.
We golfing?
oh, is this
No.
the crab feed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So I'll be gone. I'll be gone for the weekend. Little boys retreat, and we're gonna have a great time. It'll be a great time. It'll be a great time. But look,
Are you going to swing through
No.
LeGrand and hit
No.
the old Nelson out?
no,
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
no,
that's a bummer
I will not.
because they got a good milkshake.
Nope. I avoid LeGrand like the plague. LeGrand
Hey,
is
did you have
the
like some
armpit of Oregon.
Yeah, you have some memories there. You
I have
mentioned before.
a lot of
Yeah.
memories in LeGrand. None of, well, a couple of them pretty good. Um, most of them not great.
This sounds like an off radio show podcast segment.
Oh no, I mean, it's just that's where Eastern Oregon University is, and those backwoods hillbillies. They know where they can,
as opposed to
shove it.
Southern Oregon and Ashland.
Yeah, we're just dirty hippies. But
there
those
is- there's a
backwoods
stark
hillbillies
difference.
over there.
There's a stark difference between dirty hippies and hillbillies.
That's right. That's right.
You got dueling banjos versus the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
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 I mean, nailed it.
Yep. Well, one
Nailed it.
Charlie Daniels versus the Grateful Dead.
I mean, I don't need to go into the superiority of Southern Oregon to Eastern Oregon. I mean, it's pretty clear if you've ever been to LeGrand or Ashland, which one you're going to take. I mean, it's not a hard choice there.
I don't know. I don't think there's a Nelson out in Ashland.
Oh, you never been to Big Al's, obviously.
Like,
Not like the Big Al's we have up here.
right.
They got different Big Al's down there.
gotcha.
Ashland.
You never been to the Oak Tree.
They've also
No.
they probably got
No.
some better butt sunning too.
Butt sunning is actually where you do it, is in Ashland.
Yeah.
How many Hobbit huts has Aaron Rodgers been in LeGrand? Let me ask you that one, huh? How about that? How about that?
The fan
Take
text
that.
line. Patchouli is the difference between hippies and hillbillies. Yeah, that's
Yeah. That's a pretty,
it's a pretty clear line of demarcation.
Patchouli versus Chew Spit.
Yeah,
yeah.
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 I know what smell I prefer.
Yeah, it's, no, I avoid LeGrand. Moral of the story.
There you go.
Armpit, LeGrand, the beehole is Klamath Falls.
Taint.
I will, no, they don't get that.
No.
Klamath Falls, no. And then everything else in Oregon, pretty good. You know, pretty okay.
Not too bad.
How many people have actually been to like southeastern Oregon? Like truly to southeastern Oregon, like Christmas Valley towards like Christmas Valley and towards the Nevada border.
I think the closest I've gotten is that highway, 395 that goes through like Klamath Falls and stuff.
Yeah, I
think that's about the
Let me
closest
tell you.
I've
to
gotten.
Klamath Falls, and that's as far as I went.
If you were to tell me that all of our maps are a lie,
You'd believe it,
I'd believe it.
just because it's just
There's nothing there.
It's
I've
just
been
a-
there.
it's just
There's
a
nothing there.
dead zone of high desert.
It's just nothing
Yeah,
for like miles and miles and miles.
it's weird. Like it's particularly if you're from the Northwest, it is weird when you go to a place like that because you're so
Yeah.
used to trees and terrain and just stuff.
Yep.
When you go to somewhere, even Wyoming has stuff. It's like big sky country, right? You know, like that little triangle pocket right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's truly nothingness.
Yeah.
It's just
There's nothing.
you have what's the one out east is the Painted Hills. Like you at least get some cool stuff. Down
Yeah.
there, there's just nothing.
Got a lot of nothing, man.
Now,
Which is why a lot of it is bombing ranges.
I'm gonna have to claim a little bit of Oregon geography ignorance here.
Sure.
The fine town of Burns, the
Yep.
hometown of one Kellen Clemens.
Yeah.
Are we talking southeast there, or is that just like eastern?
That would be considered southeastern Oregon,
Okay.
but I'm talking like below Burns.
Gotcha.
Like if you go east of Lakeview, south of Burns, nothing.
Nothing
I mean, nothing.
except for some folks
Like-
taking over a like wild park refuge or something.
No, that's even north. It's
That's still even north.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
But there you got nothing out there.
I know some guys that do some hunting in the Steens Mountain.
Yeah.
Like-
Well, you got like I guess like the most notable things is you got like squirrel hunting, ground squirrels.
I can't eat
Little
those anymore.
woodchucks.
It's too much cholesterol.
You've got thanks, cousin Eddie. And then you've got like the Steens Mountains like running camp that they used to have there. That was very popular for all like the cross country guys.
Oh,
But yeah, the Steens are about the reason you go there. There's a reason why. Do you guys remember early 2000s? I think there was like in Bonanza, Oregon, which is just east of Klamath Falls. There was
Is that
like
the birthplace of Michael Landon.
a legit terrorist organization that was doing training over there.
yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, because nobody's out
Yeah,
there.
the Joint Terrorist Task Force rounded a bunch of people up out there. That was
Yeah.
it was in like 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that because I had some buddies that were working in the Northwest region that were a part of that. Wow, that's a core memory you just unlocked. That's
Yeah,
that's
right?
crazy. Yeah, because it actually ended up leading to like the arrest of like 13 Oregon residents.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, holy crap!
This
yeah.
it's the Wild Wild West out there,
And
man.
it looked like a lot like the Al Qaeda ISIS like jungle gym.
yeah,
training
yeah,
camps.
that's
It
what
was-
they were
it was
doing.
very like everybody who's ever seen those, they're real. Like they have
Here's-
monkey bars
Look.
and like it's like
Here's the text.
what's going on here?
Here's the text line. I've driven from Lakeview to Winnemucca on Highway 140. Most desolate stretch of road I've ever seen. You go 50-mile stretches without seeing another vehicle. Yeah. Yes.
I did Route 60.
Crazy.
I did
Even the
Route-
Rajneesh Param didn't go down that far.
no, they were up.
They were
up
up.
further.
Yeah.
They were up further.
I've done Route 66, which is the historic, highway through West Texas into New Mexico. And even that, you saw people. Hell, I saw a cop. Like I got pulled over going like
Yeah,
100.
cop.
I got pulled over going like 130.
Of course, you found a
Here
way
we
to
go.
get pulled over in the middle of nowhere.
It was like straight out of a movie. He was actually sitting behind like one of those big billboards that sits on the ground.
Of course they are.
Yeah, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me."
Mm-hmm.
He
Is
let
that
me go.
3 miles outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah. RJ chiming in. Antelope hunting down there is great. Yep. I mean, the home on the range.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Where
I,
the
like I said,
deer and the antelope play.
yeah, I've got some buddies that are pretty big time bow hunters that have gone down there, and
Yeah.
apparently it's really good.
Yeah. Steens Mountains and Alvord Desert are awesome. Our definitions of awesome are different, but I mean, for hunting, yeah, you can hunt there for sure. You can hunt. It's great. But there ain't nothing in southeastern Oregon. It's crazy. All right.
That's
Well-
your Oregon geography.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for coming
There
to
you
our TED Talk. All right, so we got a lot that we got to get to sports-wise today because, oh, here we can. We'll go off the rails quite a few times.
Oh yeah,
we have the Portland Trailblazers get Pritchard.
Jeez, Pritchard.
They got Pritch slapped.
There you go.
Oh, it's back.
Oh, that just came to you too, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Right then at that second.
Yeah, it did.
Come, babe.
You can see that on the YouTube stream. You can see
Yeah.
it in my eyes. I got it.
I think I saw a light bulb go off over your head.
Got one.
Last night was, oh, baby. Peyton Pritchard put on a show. So did Derek White.
Goodness gracious.
So we got that we need to get to. We've got James Harden is in the news, not for basketball.
Well, he did drop a 50-piece last night, too.
But he's in the news for what he's doing at his alma mater, and that's got to be discussed. And then we have the unrealistic asking price for DK Metcalf that has to be thrown out there, and one team may have cleared the way to make it happen. But where we got to start, a big pay bump for the head ball coach down in Eugene. Dan Lanning gets a raise, and the Ducks get a little relief. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
God, I wish somebody would have told me when I was younger. They're all bodies.
Yahoo Sports, the first to report that Oregon head football coach Dan Lanning getting a big pay bump and a 6-year extension that will keep Lanning in Eugene at $11 million per year, with some escalators too. Bonuses.
That's pretty good. He gets the nice 20+% bump, but the thing that Oregon gets too is they keep that buyout up high. Which if somebody's going to come try and poach their coach, it's going to cost you.
Yeah, it's going to cost them around $20 million to get Dan Lanning out of Eugene, and that is security for Lanning, who is now paid amongst the top 5 coaches in college football.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, it is rightfully so with the work that he has done. His record, it speaks for itself. 3 losses in year 1, 2 losses in year 2, 1 loss in year 3. That's pretty good. Being the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoff, pretty dang good.
Pretty dang good.
And where he has taken this program on the recruiting trail is to the heights that it's never seen before. And Nemec had a really good article that he put up at SI.com, the SI High School, where he's, recruiting guy. And it talks about just the stability of Lanning in Oregon and what it means for the football program because of all of the upheaval that has happened over the last handful of years, right? He's got 3 recruiting classes without a dramatic shift. That doesn't happen at Oregon in a really long time, because you think of from Chip to Helfrich, and then you have Helfrich and the disruption where guys decommit and recruiting really wasn't at a great spot when Willie Taggart took over. Willie Taggart's there for 1 year, and then upheaval again. Mario Cristobal's only there for a few years, and then upheaval again, and it turns over. And so when you stack recruiting classes, everybody talks about this in recruiting, you got to stack classes on top of each other. Oregon has had the inability to do that.
It's momentum.
Because of the coaching changes. And I think one thing, if you take that a step further, that Lanning has done a really good job of, after year 1, Kenny Dillingham goes and gets the head coaching job at Arizona State. And it was like, oh boy, here we go. More staff turnover, more staff shakeup. Well, Kenny Dillingham was a fast riser, always has been, and it turns out pretty good hire for Arizona State.
Not too shabby. Where was Arizona State in the...
They were the college football playoff.
Oh, right.
But you think of this. Now you're going into year 4 with Tosh Lupoi on the defensive side of the ball. Year 3 with an offensive coordinator in Will Stein. That it's been a very long time since Oregon has held on to their offensive coordinator for 3 consecutive years. And then the trickle down to that, the staff turnover is not nearly as dramatic as it has been in years past. He's gotten good coaches in, and those are the important moves there because those are the guys that are actually coaching the players on every single day in college football. Your head coach, your relationship with your head coach brings you in, but your relationships are with your position coaches, your coordinators, and the strength coaches, man. And they have not had a lot of turnover in those groups over the last handful of years. And so you see he's built stability. He said he wants to be in Oregon. He wants to stay in Eugene, and they're rewarding him for it. And to think, this dude, remember, he's only entering year 4. His first year... $4.7 million. And people are like, whoa, that's a lot of money for a guy who's never been a head coach. Here we are 3 seasons later, entering year 4, and it's at $11 million. He's one of the top 5 coaches in college football on the pay scale.
It's worked out brilliantly for them. Look, this is the single thing from the non-Duck guy on the outside looking in. This is the thing that I have said over and over and over again. Lanning has brought stability, leadership, and a mentality to Oregon that just wasn't there. I mean, I think the closest you could say that has been in the modern era was kind of the toughness that Mario Cristobal brought. And as far as like being good in the trenches. And that is a thing that Lanning has continued and grown. And that has been the thing that has pushed Oregon forward as far as the recruiting goes. Being elite in that world. And it's a belief that Lanning not only has, but exudes.
Yep.
And that is the thing that I point to over and over and over again about why my belief of what Oregon can be.
Well, and roster retention has been huge.
Immaculate.
Guys love playing for him and they're sticking around. You're not seeing guys
Who's left?
transfer out. Well, I think like Amarion Winston, he transferred out. That was a surprise.
Yeah.
But I think that the guys who have transferred out of the program are guys that kind of see the writing on the wall, that the level of talent behind them is ramping up.
Yes.
And it's getting to a point where you go, all right, this is that competitiveness. And that's a majority of guys that enter the portal across the country.
Yes.
Are guys that their coaches are sitting there saying, dude, mate, you might want to check out somewhere else so you can actually play.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do and you want to play, you probably should check
The
something out.
talent coming in is beating out the talent that is going out. And that's the mark of a successful program.
Yep. Getting over the hump, that's what they're paying him the big bucks for. But Lanning sticking in Eugene, it is huge. His players love him. His staff absolutely adores him. I mean, and like some of the praise that, like old grizzled coaches, we haven't talked about this. Mike Cavanaugh, who took the Oregon State offensive line job, just a week ago. He said the Lanning's different. He's coached with a lot of really good coaches. He's been around it. He was always like, Coach Lanning's different. He has it, whatever it is, he has it. And, that is a special thing. And what they've done on the offensive line, and they go and they get, Cutter Leftwich, who's at North Texas, and they bring him back to Eugene to help Alik Terry in the absence of Cavanaugh heading up to Oregon State. That's huge for their staff. They got another, fast riser in the college ranks to come back and be the assistant O-line coach with Alik Terry. And then you also have, Dallas Warmack and Ryan Walk, who are former players at Oregon that are on that staff as analysts now. Like that, those things, and having a stockpile of good coaches, that starts with your head coach, man.
The continuity matters, and keeping guys in-house, not just guys that you hire from the outside and keep them and retain them, but those guys that you talk about as analysts. Because a lot of those times, those analysts, if they've got the goods, number one, they're an extension of your program. They know not just like the playbook, they know the culture. They like there's an ethos that kind of comes through them as an extension of the head coach. It is an extension of the position coaches. And those guys, if they have the goods, they move up from analysts, and then they move up into position coaches. And that's how those guys make that rise, and they end up becoming lifers at your program. And that's the hallmark of stability. That when your program is built on that keystone of your head coach, and you can have turnover. You can be Saban and be the rehabilitation guy that gets massive, massive, massive hires and turns them out because everything else around them is so strong.
Yeah.
And that's what Lanning has done. Like, you go from Dillingham to Stein, and you really don't see any change as far as like drop off or anything along those lines. Like
production has been there
incredibly high, and that's the thing, because everything starts at the top, and it's it's not like trickle down economics, but it is like a trickle down culture, and that's the thing that you just look. There's only so many coaches in college football that have that, and once you have it, if you cannot let it go, you just can't, because that's what every team is looking for.
And Rob Mullins went and kind of put himself out there, hiring the 35-year-old who's a defensive coordinator and wasn't a defensive coordinator for very long. A ton of risk. And it has paid off in spades, and they're rewarding Lanning. 6-year contract extension for Dan Lanning. He'll get paid around $11 million a year, obviously pending approval by the Board of Regents. And then there's going to be escalators, and that puts him as top 5 paid head coach in all of college football, and it gives Oregon fans a little bit of comfort knowing that they're footing the bill, because that's a big change too with Oregon is they're paying their coaches. That always used to be the thing, is Oregon did not pay. They're paying their head coach, they're paying their assistant coaches, and they're reaping the rewards of it already. Now, I think also a thing that you hear Lanning talk about also quite often is he doesn't shy away from what the expectations are going to be when you are a top 5 paid head coach, when you are a program that recruits at the level that they are. He knows what the expectation is moving forward, because that's his expectation internally too.
The heat will be turned up.
Yep.
That's what comes with this contract, that's what comes with these expectations. But if you're Oregon, this is what you want. You want the expectations.
Yep. And they got him now.
Yeah.
And they got the coach. 6-year, $11 million per year extension for Dan Lanning. He's a damn good coach, man. And so pending the Board of Regents approval, he'll be in Eugene with a buyout that stays very high as well, which is good for Duck fans everywhere.
Jeff Schwartz also pointed out today that his record each year in Eugene has increased by like.
Yeah, said that.
Yeah.
3
Sorry.
losses year
I
1,
was
2
watching
losses
this.
year 2, 1 loss year 3.
Looking at my computer, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. We got that. It's good. Maybe somebody just turned on the radio and they didn't hear that.
So you're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome if you didn't hear that. All right. Let's talk to the Pritch slap last night.
Indeed.
The Blazers get beat by the Boston Celtics, and my over of 15 points for Peyton Pritchard,
Safe.
Oh, did it hit?
it hit. Almost hit in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Right now, though, is Kojak with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Who loves you, baby? If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys into whom you can place your trust. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today, online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, big news again. If you've not been listening for this last segment, for Oregon football fans, Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports reporting head coach Dan Lanning has agreed to a new deal that will raise his salary to nearly $11 million a year. Pending board approval, the deal will run through the 2030 season, and his buyout remains at $20 million. In the association, the Trailblazers are off tonight. They wrap up their road trip tomorrow in Oklahoma City against the Thunder. Blazers 28-35 on the season, 4 games out of the final play-in spot. In the NFL, ESPN's Field Yates reporting the Browns have restructured the contract of quarterback Deshaun Watson, clearing nearly $36 million in cap space. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the 49ers have told defensive tackle Javon Hargrove he will be released on the first day of the league year next week. And late last night, the Chargers released outside linebacker Joey Bosa, saving them over $25 million against the cap. Round 1 of the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill, a PGA Tour signature event. And at the top of the leaderboard, well, Keegan Bradley is your clubhouse leader, after a 3-under 69. Nice. Max Grazerman also at 3-under par through 14 holes. Among those 1 stroke back are former Oregon Duck Wyndham Clark and Justin Rose. And 2 strokes off the pace at 1-under are Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, and Rory McIlroy. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker has a new black 1080 The Fan hoodie, as well as classic long and short sleeve tees. Get yours now at 1080thefan.com.
6 of 6 from 3, 22. His career high is 25. What? Come on! Oh, come on!
That was Mike Tirico on the call for NBC Sports Boston. Yeah, you heard that right. Mike Tirico on the call for NBC Sports Boston.
It's weird.
NBC's got to ramp him up for
Yeah.
NBA coverage starting next
I think
year.
he did a game in Philly the other night too.
Hey, how about that?
I like Tirico. I don't like him on basketball.
We'll get used to it.
It's weird.
Yeah, it is a little weird.
It's
I think
it is a little weird.
to me, he's just fine. He is. Mike Tirico is Jay Leno. He's Vanilla Ice Cream.
Yeah.
He's just fine.
When he left ESPN, remember, he was calling Monday Night Football and left ESPN to take over Sunday Night Football on NBC. And Al Michaels was like, nah, dog.
That ain't the
For
move.
years. Like, he was just like, yeah, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving this thing. And it took a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I bet how long do you think Mike Tirico was like, maybe I regret this?
Yeah.
Because he got paid a crap ton to go to NBC because they thought Al Michaels had like a year left.
Yeah.
And then it was like 4 or 5 years.
Well, I have a feeling he's done pretty well, okay, with all the Olympics coverage and stuff.
Well,
too.
and all he had to do was call Notre Dame football, you
Yeah.
know? Like, oh, wait.
I think
Oh,
Mike
wait.
Tirico's doing just fine.
Yeah. But Peyton Pritchard right there, you heard that. They said his career high is 25. No, it's not. It's now 43.
Yeah, he as crazy as his game was, in the first half it was Derek White. Derek White finishes the first half with 24 points on 6 of 9 from 3, which is insane because Peyton Pritchard finished the first half with 18 points on 5 of 9 for 3. Derek White in the second quarter alone just went berserk, had 14 points, 4 of 6 from 3. Pritchard, he was his quiet quarter. He was only 1 of 4 from 3, but this game started with Pritchard hitting I think he hit his first 2 threes, and it was like, oh, Pritchard's kind of got it going. Comes down the Blazers come down the court. I want to say about the 7-minute mark. Scoot Henderson has just checked in, and I don't know what got into Scoot, but he was like determined to go at Peyton Pritchard's neck, and he turned him inside out with an inside out cross and got to the rim and finished. It was like, oh, he just snatched Pritchard's soul. That was one of the nastiest crossovers I've seen Scoot have. Pritchard comes down, clearly trying to go at Scoot, can't get by him. Scoot D'd him up. And Peyton Pritchard throws a prayer up from the corner that touches nothing but the bottom of the net. And I think that was when I texted you. I was like, I think your over's going to hit.
He had 12 in the first quarter.
It's like, oh my God.
He ended up with 43 points on 14 of 20 shooting, 10 of 16 from beyond the arc, 10 rebounds, 5 assists.
He was the leading rebounder in the game. He had 4 offensive rebounds. In the third quarter is when he went nuclear. He had 19 points in the quarter, including 5 of 6 from 3.
The most impressive part about all of this, though, with how much the ball was in his hands, he played 43 minutes, did not commit a single turnover.
This was a stupid low turnover game for everybody. 9 for the Celtics, 8 for the Blazers. It was about as clean and up and down as you can have in a basketball game.
Yeah, so Scoot may have tried to go for his neck. He did not get there.
Oh, God, no. No. Pritchard, you could tell Pritchard took it as Scoot intended.
Yeah.
It was very much a, I'm going to go at you situation. You're going to go at me. And it was fun. I think Pritchard's one of those guys that loves that stuff.
Yeah.
He loves that stuff.
He's got a little dog in him,
yeah.
man.
And look, Shaden Sharp tried to drive on him a couple times. He tried to drive on Pritchard to close out the first half, and Pritchard stonewalled him. And I thought, I tweeted it. I was like, Shaden Sharp cannot settle for an 18-foot fadeaway at the end of the clock against Peyton Pritchard. That's not something you can allow to have happen.
This from Opta Stats, only one player all time has had over the course of his entire career a 40-point game with 10 or more three-pointers, a 40-point game with 0 turnovers, a 40-point game on 70% shooting, a 40-point game off of the bench, a 40-point, 10-rebound, 5-assist game. It's Peyton Pritchard, and he did it all in one day.
He's the only player
He's
to ever
only
have
got-
40, 10, and 5 off the bench.
That is five statistical markers that no player in NBA history has ever done, whether it's a single game or over their career. And Pritchard did that to the Blazers last night. That was unbelievable.
It was an outlier of outlier games. And look, I'm not saying he's a bad player. Like, you don't expect this from him. You don't expect that from him. His previous career high was 25.
Well, I heard he was listening to the show and he heard you say that he may not win the Sixth Man of the Year.
He put himself very firmly the top of that list pretty damn quickly. They took his odds off the board yesterday. Oh, the Sixth Man of the Year odds came off the board.
Really?
Because him and Ty Jerome were in like neck and neck.
Because that game just won it.
Yeah.
Look, single games.
Because he did come off the bench to do that too.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing. It was we thought maybe Pritchard would start with all the injuries, but they didn't. They brought him off the bench, and there was another stat here. The only players in NBA history to record a game with 40+ points, 10+ rebounds, 5+ assists, and 10 made threes. Pritchard joined Damian Lillard and James Harden,
Oh, pretty good.
and he's also the only player to ever do it off the bench.
Well, yeah, and first player, I don't know if you guys already said it, 40 points, 10 threes, and 10 rebounds in a regulation game. Only
Yeah.
one to ever do it.
Yep.
He was the leading rebounder in this game.
Yeah.
That's the insane. Like,
Take that, Donovan Clingan.
a 6-foot guy was the leading rebounder in this game. And you can talk about, they
That's
took all these
wow.
threes. He had 4 offensive rebounds, like, in the paint. And I was like, yo, hey, that can't happen. No, the smallest guy on the floor cannot be the guy coming up with that loose ball.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive by Derek White and Peyton Pritchard.
The first pair of Celtics
crazy.
teammates to ever both have 40 points in a game. Not Bird and McHale, not the Jays, not Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker, not Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett or Ray Allen.
No.
All of those Celtics legends,
Yeah.
none of them have ever had both two teammates score 40 or more. That is nuts.
Guzzi and Russell? No.
No, nobody.
No. Nobody. Damn. Yeah, pretty impressive. That was a performance for the ages. And look, it just felt like it was one of those nights that middle of a long road trip for the Blazers. You ain't gonna bring the A game every night, and it was almost like they had a sigh of relief that you were facing a Celtics team without Jason Tatum, without Kristaps Porzingis, without Drew Holiday, all of the injuries, and they were like, oh boy, nope. White and the White ended up coming out playing.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Blazers shot 50% from the field, 40% from three, hit 16 threes.
It was crazy.
It's
I'm sorry, you just killed me with that one.
no, it was the Whites.
It was crazy. And look, we have a texture. Look, Scoot not great at the end of the game.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, that was one of those games, and the Blazers kind of played like how we expected the Blazers to play against the Celtics.
Look,
Just not Derek White and Peyton Pritchard doing it to him.
on probably 95 out of 100 nights, the Blazers' performance wins the game.
Yeah.
They didn't play bad.
No, they were
Derek
just
White
unconscious.
and Peyton Pritchard just went. You're talking about a Celtics team that has some of the most storied history in the history of the game, and you had a game from two guys that has never been done in their franchise's history.
The Blazers shot 50% from the floor and 40% from three and lost by 10.
Yeah.
Outside of Peyton Pritchard and Derek White, only Jordan Walsh, who went 1 for 1, shot over 50% from the field.
Yeah,
I mean, Sam Hauser was 2 for 9. Cornette was 1 for 4.
Mm-hmm.
Jaylen Brown was 7 of 23.
28 or 46 between those two guys.
It was pretty good.
It's bonkers.
It was pretty good. All right. Good on you. Good on you, Peyton Pritchard. Showing the hometown team.
I'm sure that
little bit of
that
of
played
course
into it.
does. Of course it does.
It's and good.
Yeah,
good.
It was pretty sweet. It was pretty sweet. Cool little thing. Hey, we've got something that has popped up coming out of the NFL scouting combine. Tez Johnson may not have hurt his draft stock because of his 40 as much as some people would like to think. Danny Dusty on the Fan. With the NFL Scouting Combine in the rearview mirror, there's a lot of people saying, oh my gosh, draft stock rising, draft stock plummeting, world is burning down. Well, just because of the Scouting Combine and the on-field workouts, that is such a small portion of what evaluators and teams take in as part of whether or not they're going to draft a guy. And one of the guys who is seen as a loser at the Scouting Combine was Oregon receiver Tez Johnson, because he ran a 4.55 and a 4.51 40-yard dash. And the guy who weighed in at 154 pounds, which is Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus points out, or formerly of Pro Football Focus, said that is the zeroth, zeroth, the 0 percentile of weight.
Zero-end.
Didn't somebody else last year also weigh in at 154?
I don't know.
I'm almost certain somebody else came in at that exact weight, and people were like, "That's tiny."
Yeah. It is very small.
Yeah.
I was surprised at 154. I thought he would be larger than
165.
myself as a sophomore in high school. Was not a big person. But what? But Tez, anybody who's watched Tez Johnson, you know how fast he is. And this is the thing. Monson points out, so he is in the 0 percentile for weight, runs a really average 40, is above average with his 10-yard split at 1.53, but then was absolutely elite in the 3-cone drill, change of direction. Yep, he's good at that. And then he clocked the fastest miles per hour of any wide receiver during any of the drills that were done at the Scouting Combine. Okay? You take also this from Real Analytics into play. The in-game athleticism score derived from game footage where they have all the player tracking data. Tez Johnson's score of 89.3 was, they'd say, that dude is a far better game or football player than he is a test taker, right? So running the 40. And they show a clip of him, that punt return against Boise State that flipped the game on its head, and the Ducks took the lead. He reached 21.4 miles per hour on his, I think it was an 89-yard punt return for a touchdown.
That's fast.
That is ridiculously fast. And so this is the thing that coming out of the combine, you always wait for the dust to settle, and then you see kind of the information that's coming out of guys in how they performed in the days, weeks after, because now it turns from, all right, the numbers were bad. What are the teams and scouts and coaches saying to all of the media members after the fact?
Before you get to that, I want to give some context to that speed. You said it was 24.1?
21.4. 21.4.
Oh, I think you said 24.
No,
okay.
no, 21.4.
Okay, but again, that's in-game speed, right?
In-game speed.
So Xavier Worthy, who ran that 4.21 last year in the Underwear Olympics, his top speed was 24.2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fast. He's fast in game too. But you also, here's another one too with Zeke Biggers, which is a phenomenal name for a defensive tackle. There's a guy named Zeke Biggers from Georgia Tech. And at the East-West Shrine Bowl, he was considered a standout. At the Combine, he was considered a standout. Prior to the East-West Shrine game, he had an appendectomy 2 weeks before he reported to the East-West Shrine game. He was cleared by doctors, but they said, yeah, you're probably not going to be able to do everything. He did it and thrived, right? So now this is the time where you start to see the stories of guys that, all right, this is what they're going through. There was a tight end who rolled his ankle right before the 40.
Yeah.
You see that picture of his ankle?
It's nasty as hell, and he did everything.
He did absolutely everything. Didn't tell anybody. And then went and got an MRI right after the combine ended.
It is black. It is just a black L that starts the middle of his ankle and goes into his foot. It's like, oh, that dude rolled the ever-living hell out of that thing. My God. Because his performances were actually still pretty good.
Yeah.
That was the insane thing.
That's the whole.
That's a different level of dude.
I'm not taking my shoe off. I'm not. He
I'm gonna-
probably had his ankles taped for that. I'm going to keep everything taped.
Keep the pressure on it.
Not going to let this thing swell up until I'm done with everything, and then, oh my God, this really hurts.
Yeah.
That's a big job interview.
It is, but I bet
Brad.
you those teams, as soon as they saw that, they went, "Oh, this is a dude."
Yeah, he is a dude. He is a dude. All right, so that's just a little quick update. Don't overreact to just what you see at the combine. Wait until some of these stories in the next days, weeks leading up to the draft. At the end of April, we're inching closer and closer to the NFL draft, and you still got pro days that are going to be coming up right around the corner. Hey, the Seahawks are being unrealistic, but so is the player they're trying to trade. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Isaac
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on the Fan, big news for Oregon football fans. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports reporting head coach Dan Lanning has agreed to a new deal that will raise his salary to nearly $11 million a year. Pending board approval, the deal will run through the 2030 season, and his buyout remains at $20 million. The Trailblazers are off tonight. They wrap up their road trip tomorrow in Oklahoma City against the Thunder. Portland 28-35 on the season. That is 4 games out of the final play-in spot. Over in the NFL, ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the 49ers have told defensive tackle Javon Hargrove he will be released on the first day of the league year next week. ESPN's Field Yates reporting the Browns have restructured the contract of quarterback Deshaun Watson, clearing nearly $36 million in cap space. And late last night, the Chargers released outside linebacker Joey Bosa, saving them over $25 million against the cap. Round 1 of the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. It's a PGA Tour signature event, and we've got 3 people at the top of the leaderboard. Keegan Bradley is your clubhouse leader after a 3-under 69. Max Greiserman and Rory McIlroy are also at 3 under par. Among those at 2 under are former Oregon Duck Wyndham Clark at 1 under par, tied for 8th. Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, and Justin Rose. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required. Portland's sports leader is 1080 The Fan. Danny and Dusty.
My Uncle Gus is the uncle that likes to work the grill. As soon as he walk in the house, he's like, get away from that grill. You don't know how to start no fire.
With the latest on the Blazers, Ducks, Beavers, and the hottest topics in sports.
We're going to eat a hamburger, okay? Here we go. Chandler, throw the match. Now that's a fire.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
I'm not cooking them Brontosaurus burger.
The Fan.
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Thursday afternoon. Thanks for being a part of our day, letting us be a part of yours. Whether it's on 1080 AM, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, twitch.tv/1080am, The Fan, or the party people on the YouTube stream, youtube.com/1080am, The Fan. What's up, y'all? Let's party.
Don't you tell me what to do.
No, I will. Party. It's a pants party. Everybody's invited.
Indeed.
Even you in your green shirt. Snoop-a-loop.
Snoop-a-loop.
All right. Rust is wearing a green shirt, by the way, that says, I'm just here to embarrass my wife.
Yes, to steal a line from the Colin Cowherd show for those of us, apologies to our radio audience.
Damn. Yeah. Oh, yeah. For me describing your green shirt.
Yes.
Yeah. Imagine sexy dad bod in that shirt, though.
Oh.
That's Jeff Rust.
Hot as hell.
Babe.
I've made myself uncomfortable by saying that. Diana Rossini
made me feel good.
yeah, you did. Diana Rossini of The Athletic and Scoop City Pod. She, former coworker of ours, she is saying the Seattle Seahawks are seeking a first and third round pick for wide receiver DK Metcalf. Additionally, DK is eyeing a new contract worth around $30 million per season.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, DK Metcalf requested a trade from the Seahawks, wants to go to a contender, and the Seahawks have said, we will oblige, kind sir. Both of these sides seem to be pretty unrealistic in what they're asking for, if you ask me.
Yeah, a first and a third round pick,
Mm-hmm.
the asking price for the Seahawks to trade DK Metcalf, which, come on, man. What? Look, I understand of like negotiating in public and all the things that come along with that, but you can't start there. A first or a third and a player, or a second and a player, not a first and a third.
Well, I think they're just saying we're going to shoot for the moon, and if we miss, we'll land amongst the stars.
You're not going to get what you don't ask for.
Yeah, it is a insanely steep asking price because, look, what the Seahawks are asking is, not with both of these pieces of information, it's like, give us 2 pieces of cheap talent that you believe will be contributors to your roster, a first rounder immediately, a third rounder in draft capital. That is a person that you believe will be a contributor to your roster in some way, shape, or form, be it as a backup, a special teamers, year 1, right? They're saying give us immediately a starter and a guy who will play. And oh, by the way, you're going to have to pay DK Metcalf $30 million per year, which would put him 5th in the National Football League in player salary with that extension. So you're taking 2 pieces of cheap talent, and you're going to have to add one of the most expensive pieces of talent at his position in the National Football League. I don't see that being something that the Seahawks get. I would say the Seahawks may get a player and a third.
Yeah.
A player and a third if you're going to be paying him $30 million a year, which good luck with that.
Raiders, no.
I don't like. There's very few guys that we've talked about this.
I'm not paying a wide receiver that kind of money unless it's Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. That's period, point blank.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is who got $30 million.
Okay, we'll put Amon-Ra there. He is quite literally the line.
He is the line.
Yeah.
And DK Metcalf is really damn good. He in that line.
No, Amon-Ra St. Brown is not only a great wide receiver, he is an absolute monster on the edge as a blocker.
I will. Okay, let's do this. Okay, we'll go down the list of players that are the highest paid in the NFL, and you tell me where DK, from a player standpoint, non-salary,
Sure. Yeah.
right? Non-salary, just from a player standpoint, where is DK Metcalf?
Go.
Okay. I'm already going to just cruise past Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra, Brandon Ayuk, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore.
I think I'd actually take him over Waddle.
I like Jalen Waddle.
I do too,
Yeah.
but
I think he's more of a complete receiver.
yes, but my preference, you know where I stand with this stuff.
Yeah.
The big wide receiver is my jam.
DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins.
I think T's a better wide receiver.
I do too. T is currently 10th. Devontae Smith, Nico Collins, Debo Samuel, Michael Pittman Jr., Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I'd definitely take him over those guys.
Yeah, so that's
That's the area right there.
that.
like
I
10th?
think 15th.
Okay, 15th. Okay.
15th.
Yeah,
You're
okay.
looking at the Michael Pittman, Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin, and then aging Mike Evans. Chris Godwin is in that range.
Yeah, so
You have
I'd take
injuries.
him. I'd take him over. I'd put him right alongside Pittman.
So-
That's where I'd put him.
So you're putting him in that $23 million range, and I think that's totally fair. He's getting a lot of money right now, though. His average annual salary is $24 million, which is 13th league-wide. I think that's probably where he's going to stand. But this is the thing in the NFL, right? These guys always are saying, all right, the market has been reset by Justin Jefferson at $35 million a year. Jamar Chase will reset that market again and be very highly compensated. But the reality of it is none of these guys see where they are in that pecking order, and then teams get into the position where, like, Jalen Waddle's making $28 million. I think that's too much money for Jalen
Yes,
Waddle.
I
I
do
like
too.
Jalen Waddle. I think he's a really damn good receiver. But when you talk about, then it becomes a detriment to building a roster that can compete at a championship level. Yeah, when you have Tyreek Hill making $30 million, Jalen Waddle making $28.25, like, that is a lot of cash.
Not only that, there's a clear delineation between those two, and it's not $2 million.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 1.75.
But you,
Yeah, I know.
But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's it makes it even worse. Like
Yeah.
it's Jalen Waddle, DK, those guys, like 25 is where I'm, which is just under the franchise tag.
And
That's
If-
a good spot to be.
here is the biggest issue that I have, though, in it is that don't say you want to be dealt to a contender
And
then,
you want to get
and
paid.
then say you want $30 million per year in your next salary.
Because that doesn't exist.
No. Well, because you're not going to a contender.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the,
You will not go to a contender because a contender's going to say,
No.
no, dog.
I mean, the Chargers. We could talk about this a little bit. You know, they
Well, I
make
know-
the move with Bosa.
We can do it right now because
Yeah.
that's where I wanted to go with
Okay.
it. Is that the Chargers now have the third most cap space in the National Football League with the release of Joey Bosa.
Look, Quentin Johnson and a second round pick. It just makes too much sense for both sides.
Yeah, it does.
It just
Yeah.
if you're Seattle, you want to go get a big bodied wide receiver to work out alongside JSN. You get draft capital. The Chargers have the money. They're a competitive team. You've got a great quarterback. You've got an underneath guy that you don't have to be the guy every single play with Lad McConkey. These are like one of those deals like the with the Trailblazers, like trading CJ McCollum for Aaron Gordon and stuff. Everybody's like, why doesn't this deal just get done? It makes sense for both sides. And it just never got done. And you look at this here and you're like, is this a deal that's just makes so much sense that it's just not going to get done because neither side's going to be able to tout that they won the deal?
Which is, by the way, the epitome of winning a deal.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
If
everybody
neither
comes out
side
and accomplishes their goals,
if neither side is like, I won, it's like that's actually a
good
really
deal.
damn good deal.
it's a good deal.
Everybody gets what they want.
Like I know a lot of Chargers fans and I know a lot of Seahawks fans, and I've talked to them over the last day, and like that deal just keeps coming up, and everybody's like, yeah, no, I'd do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is before $30 million for DK. I think if you're talking, if DK signs anywhere between 23 and 25, Chargers fans say, yep, sign me up for that.
Yeah, and that,
but 30? Nah,
that's
dog.
realistic.
$5 million, that's another player.
Mm-hmm.
$5 million is another like key guy on your roster.
This is what needs to happen in professional sports, and I believe this. Players lean on their agents for the advice. They lean on their marketing managers for their advice. There needs to be a profession and a role of the dude who keeps it real with you. Yes. Because the agent will never tell DK Metcalf that he is worth less than $30 million. He's the guy who's saying, DK, you should be getting your next deal $30 million a year. There needs to be a guy who can sit down with players and be like, let me be real with you. You cannot say you want to be traded to a contender and then say you want $30 million a year.
It's an either-or summation. And
you do not want to go and play for an elite quarterback and then also say, I want to get $30 million a year. Because you know what? You're really damn good. And your skill set is
incredibly
valuable to a team. You are not Justin Jefferson.
No.
You are not Jamar Chase. And that's okay. And you know what? You might get paid just $10 million less than them.
And it's not just the keep it real guy. It's the ability for a player to understand it. Look, you have to have the ego. You have to believe you're the best in professional sports. I remember after Nasir Little signed his deal, and he took significantly less than everybody thought he would take. It was that 3-year, $21 or $24 million deal. And I talked to Nas in the locker room basically right after that deal came out. And I was like, hey, man, congrats on the deal. And I'm like, can I ask you, how you went about it? And he goes, Danny, man, if you had told 18-year-old me that I could lock up $20+ million guaranteed, I would have called you crazy. And there's just this fundamental realization of like, look, man, you always want more. And Nas is the outlier of outliers of like having that mentality. But he was like, dog, I'm set for life.
Yeah.
I'm set for life with this. And I knew that I could sit here and fight and maybe push this off to another season. And who knows what, and obviously the injuries piled up for him. In the NBA, it's all guaranteed, so it's a little bit different. But he told me, like, my agent goes, look, man, this is a good deal. Like, you can lock this in now. Or we can fight this, and we can try to get you more in the offseason and kind of see where it goes. And Nas is like, I'll take it. I'll take it. Because there's just this fundamental understanding. There's this relationship of like between him and his agent and the team, like of what they needed to do and how they needed to do it. And it's very rare that you see that, but it's also, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
When guys are like, nah, man, that's good enough.
That's good enough. And you're not going to see that with DK.
No. I mean, wide receivers just aren't built that way.
But you're not going to see with the Seahawks if they're asking for first and third.
No, God.
Which Rossini has followed that up. She went on with Colin earlier today, and she said that, there have been teams that have inquired about DK Metcalf, obviously, but when they see that the asking price is a first and third, they're like, yeah, no, we're not gonna give up a first, a third, and then pay the guy a buttload of money. So, conceivably what you could see this turning into is this trade doesn't happen quickly. It could drag out for a long time because we discussed this yesterday. If they trade him post June 1, it then becomes even more palatable for the Seahawks from a financial standpoint too, to get him off the books, because a post June 1 trade means that they pay $13.8 million in dead cap this year, $7.1 million in dead cap next year.
A little smoothing as opposed to the 21 up front.
And they end up saving $18 million against this year's cap. If they were to trade him prior to June 1st, then they have a $21 million cap hit this year, and they only save $10.8 million. Yeah. So you may see this number being a little unrealistic now, and then whatever team takes him as the price goes down, they bring DK in and they say, hey, man, like, let's start negotiating a deal, but that deal may not get done. He may just be a 1-year rental, prove yourself. Boom.
Which
he's
is also
gone.
going to drive the compensation package down. But also, if you're the Seahawks, maybe you have the compensation package that high to start with because you want teams to have to wait until June 1 to make that
Well, yeah, that's
decision.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm
It's
saying.
like
Like,
you're
it's-
going, you drag this thing out
Yeah.
because it helps you to be first and third now. Because, all right, if I get a first and a third, yeah, I'll eat that money this year.
Yeah.
That is totally fine with me eating that money this year. And then we got young guys, and we have a young starter in a first round pick and a young role player in a third round pick. And then, sure, it's worth it to us then.
Makes sense.
Totally worth it for you. But a first and a third, and DK wanting $30 million per year, as Diana Rossini reports. Good luck, bro. Good. And that's to everybody involved
Yes.
here. That's to everybody.
Seahawks and
involved.
DK Metcalf both. Right? Just
Hot damn. But also, the side note out of that is we said the Chargers now have the third most salary cap space in the NFL, only behind the Patriots and the Las Vegas Raiders. Joey Bosa is now open for business, and he could go and sign with any team in the National Football League.
we're scenarioed up and go to the Bills.
Fits are aplenty for him. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Back
As Dusty was saying, coming off of the pre-new financial calendar for the NFL, the Chargers have indeed decided to part with their most expensive, I should say second most expensive piece in Joey Bosa, the absolute terror of a wrecking crew that was only available 2/3 of the season on most any given year.
That's being generous.
I'm trying to be nice.
Sorry I'm late. I had to pee. There's a line.
It happens.
There's a line. There's a line in the restrooms.
That never happens here.
Everybody's look, man. Everybody's synced up. But Bosa gets let go, and we talked about this. I want to say 2 months ago, as far as like who could end up being the mercenary that could dictate a pretty sizable move if somebody can give him the Von Miller treatment. We're going to play you 150 snaps throughout the season. We're going to keep you fresh, and then we're going to unleash this absolute terror of humanity on a pass rush during the playoffs. And I know that financially they're not in the top 3 case of the world. I want to see Bosa go to Buffalo.
You want to see Bosa go to Buffalo? And, oh boy, I'm just trying to feel that out on how that would look. Because, I mean, up front, they're pretty good. So you would have Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Joey Bosa. Yeah, I think you could do some damage.
Like that to me, that just screams that fit. Like, look, he looks like a dude that wants to jump through tables.
Yeah, I feel like he may be too Ferrari to be Buffalo.
You could be.
You know what I mean?
He is a pretty boy. That jaw can cut glass.
And if you get hurt in L.A., I mean, what's going to happen to you in the cold of Buffalo?
Hey, well, and those Bosa boys, they look like the heads on Easter Island.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, you're not wrong. They're very, very angular men.
And his brother's already angling for him to be the mercenary in San Francisco, and the Niners pick him up.
The Bash brothers?
Dude, if he went there on the cheap, I would love to see that. I mean, look, if you're going the mercenary route, yeah, and that's going to be his career moving forward, yeah, put both Bosa brothers together, put him in Buffalo, hell, put him in a situation where you want to go ring chasing, my friend? Why don't you go join Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith up front in Philly?
They're losing Sweat, so that seems unfair. Like if anybody could,
I mean, he'd play hand in the ground, but you'll find a spot for him.
Yeah,
you're gonna find a spot. You'll be okay.
I mean, that's terrifying.
Yeah,
that's terrifying. Look, he is injury prone.
Just waves of guys.
But
could you imagine like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter just being fresh all game long, and you're just throwing a Bosa in there too, and it is just over and over and over again.
You can say whatever you want about Joey Bosa and the injuries and him being weird. The top end talent is unquestionable.
Yeah.
It is unquestionable, undeniable, which means it can't be denied.
It is undeniable. That's right, baby Billy.
I'm actually very interested to see where he lands because he can swing the pendulum in the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
He's that kind of guy.
The other thing though is
you're about to find out.
There will be a team that just pays him to go and play there and give him more money. The Raiders are a great example of this.
Look,
throw him alongside Max Crosby.
Which would be something I could see Pete Carroll looking at. Like it's a team that's built on defense.
Build on defense, but I don't know it necessarily if he fits the culture that of guys that Pete Carroll really wants to bring in.
Yes.
Right?
He fits the talent level, that's for damn sure.
I would say so. And he knows how to work on the opposite side of an elite pass rusher. And you can sit there and you say, all right, we just need you to be productive. We need you to be healthy.
Yep.
If I am a guy like Joey Bosa, though,
you have your pick of the litter.
I would go, and I honestly, biggest knock on Joey Bosa in his career. Injuries. I would say the first thing that I do is I go and I look at the teams
who keep their guys fresh
and least injured teams in the NFL.
Yep. Who has the best training staff?
The two least injured teams in the NFL last season, the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills, followed by the Washington Commanders. Now, injury luck and injury health plays a big factor in the success of your season. And I think that when you talk about all three of those teams, yeah, that helped out tremendously. But, go over do a historical look at over the last, 5 years, which teams have been the most healthy in the NFL. Because what is undeniable is that the Chargers are one of the most injured teams every damn year in the NFL. It is crazy. In this past year, they were like in the bottom, just middle, back end of the middle of injuries this year. But obviously the Browns and the Lions were number one in it by a wide margin. So, and it was mostly on the defensive side of the ball. I would do that if my whole thing is that my career has been derailed year after year by injuries. Go to a place that takes care of their guys.
Look, in the NBA, there is one place that has been true.
Pahonix.
It is Phoenix. Phoenix has had the best training staff in the NBA for basically 25 years.
Yeah.
It's probably has to do with the weather
Yep.
and being in a warm place all the time. But it is, players have gone there to revitalize their career.
Yep.
And they have cited going to, LaMarcus almost went to Phoenix, and that was a part of like, hey, I'm getting older in my career. Where can I go to lengthen out my career? The Big Cactus went there, and he was like, look, man, I'm breaking down. I need this. And like Steve Nash and all of his back injuries and all the stuff he dealt with was like, if I played anywhere else, I wouldn't have made it.
It's a long list of guys, dude.
It is, and it's not just the top guys. It's up and down the roster. It is the place to go.
But just think of the guys that, you're talking about. Like, wasn't Tyson Chandler one of those
Yes.
guys too? Tyson Chandler, Grant Hill, Steve Nash, like
They took
Jason
guys-
Richardson.
They took guys with bad
before
injuries.
the whole
Yeah.
Steve Nash.
Amari Stoudemire with the
Stoudemire,
microfracture,
yeah.
he still kept it going.
Yeah.
Like that organization, man. You want to talk about the New Orleans Pelicans and like the voodoo that is cast on their franchise and how everybody gets hurt? It is the exact opposite with the Phoenix Suns.
Now they're all just healthy. They just can't play good basketball. But there could be, a seismic shift in. Part of the Bosa thing is, yes, the mercenary may make more sense because of what else is happening around the NFL, right? Myles Garrett has requested a trade. Dude, if I'm the Chargers, screw DK Metcalf, go get Myles Garrett. If you now have the third most salary cap space, go get Myles Garrett. And how about this one? Within the last hour, we have learned that the Cincinnati Bengals are allowing Trey Hendrickson to explore trade opportunities.
cheap Bengals.
So if you're sitting there going, whoa, wait a minute,
Bosa,
hold up now.
Hendrickson, Garrett.
You go, Seahawks, move to the
Slow
side with that
your roll.
first and third round pick. I will give you that for any of those guys, and I will pay them all that money.
You and Hendrickson and Myles Garrett, you have. If Myles Garrett isn't the best defensive player in the NFL right now, it's TJ Watt. It's one of those two guys. Trey Hendrickson is right there. Look, that Bengals defense sucked. Trey Hendrickson was a complete and utter monster.
It's crazy.
Last year.
Crazy.
I mean, and if you're one of those teams, like when you're talking about going to the championship contender, those are the teams that are willing to give up the F them picks.
Yep.
Whoever wants to be the LA Rams right now, go get Myles Garrett or go get Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Goodness gracious.
Hot damn. It's good. It's good to be an edge rusher in the NFL. They're getting all the monies, but it's also good. It is also very good to be a team that is in need of an edge rusher if you have some cap space, because there's 3 of them that could be pretty damn good.
Premier. All right, coming up next on our Worst Day on the Web, we talked about this, I want to say, sometime last year. The scientist group that is trying to bring back the woolly mammoth and the woolly meat, they have made an advancement.
Oh, boy.
Can I interest you in some woolly mice?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, it's
What?
weird, baby. Let's get in some weird stuff. But first, it's Big Kuno with Sports Center Update.
I hear they
they're
got some
adorable.
tasty burgers.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on the Fan, big news for Oregon football fans. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports reporting head coach Dan Lanning has agreed to a new deal that will raise his salary to nearly $11 million a year. Pending board approval, the deal will run through the 2030 season, and his buyout stays at $20 million. The Trailblazers are off tonight. They wrap up their road trip tomorrow in Oklahoma City against the Thunder. Portland now 28-35 on the season, 4 games out of the final play-in spot. In the NFL, ESPN's Field Yates reporting the Browns restructuring the contract of quarterback Deshaun Watson, clearing nearly $36 million in cap space. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the 49ers have told defensive tackle Javon Hargrove he will be released on the first day of the league year next week. Diana Rossini of The Athletic reporting the Texans finalizing a trade to acquire Jaguars wide receiver Christian Kirk for a 2026 7th-round pick. And NFL Network's Mike Garafolo reporting the Giants re-signing quarterback Tommy DeVito, so Tommy Cutlets stays in New York. Round 1 of the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill, a PGA Tour signature event. And at the top of the leaderboard, let's see here, Keegan Bradley is your clubhouse leader after a 3-under 69. Also at 3-under, but still on the course, are Christian Bezuidenhout, former Oregon Duck Wyndham Clark, and Patrick Cantlay. Among those 1 stroke back are Rory McIlroy, and then 2 strokes off the pace at 1 under par, Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, and Justin Rose. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Oh, really? That sucks.
We talked about this, I want to say sometime last summer, the group of scientists that is trying to revive the long extinct woolly mammoth and also bring us the woolly mammoth meat, which, if you saw that glob, it's
No, out on that.
Yeah, it's a little.
I'd try it, but
it's a little ways away from being spam compliant, but we're getting there. But the U.S. bio company Colossal Biosciences is planning to de-extinct the woolly mammoth, and in that process, this is when we started. 20 years ago, the cloning of the sheep or the lamb. This is kind of in that
Dolly?
same. Yeah, this is the kind of in the same vein. They have genetically modified mice to have the cold weather tolerance traits of a woolly mammoth, and they have this picture of these mice that have like a woolly mammoth thick, like yellowish coat on them, and it's kind of insane and very terrifying. Path that they are going down.
They are adorable little mice. Yeah, I've seen Jurassic Park. I don't want this. I don't want it. I kind of do though. If you could give me like a mini woolly mammoth,
like a little mini horse.
Yeah, like a little toy. You know, like they have like the miniature huskies.
Mm-hmm.
Those dogs are. I don't like lap
the
dogs.
Pomskis?
No, I don't. They're bigger than that.
Okay.
No, they're like little. Take the Pomeranian out of it. Like they're just little.
Because those Pomskis, they're adorable.
They're like little versions of the big dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I lap dog? No. Just can I have like a medium? Can I order a medium? I'd like a small woolly mammoth, please. Not these mice are extra small, but give me like
medium.
Yeah, give me like a
medium mammoth.
Give me a 70-pound woolly mammoth.
You want like a miniature horse-sized woolly mammoth.
Yeah. The labradoodle.
Maybe you can
little
put
smaller.
maybe the kids can ride.
The labradoodle.
Now we're talking.
The
Maybe,
labradoodle of woolly mammoths. That's what you're going for.
Yeah.
So they also have a photo of like a side by
House train
side
that dumb thing.
of your typical lab mouse and the woolly mouse, kind of side by side. And you can see there's very, very real differences in these things. So they've isolated the genes that are in the woolly mammoth that lead to the coat type.
Okay.
But they also have isolated the genes in how they process and store fats, which they also think helps regulate cold temperature. So the important thing is not only has it been successful, these mice are healthy. Like if you remember, they're like in every like science movie where they have this happen, it's like there's some version of like they give it to it and it's like, oh, it works, and then it does like a cutaway and it shows the mouse like turning evil or like
and backfires
Yes.
horrendously.
Its
So-
mouth is on its hip. You're like,
yeah,
man, I
you're
don't
like,
think
oh
so.
god, no. In this, the mice are healthy.
Okay.
So now
For now, until
yes.
a meteorite comes.
Well, that's the thing is that they're also
Isn't that what took them all out? Is the meteor? Oh, bam!
the important thing here is not yet been peer reviewed, which will kind of unearth some things, I'm sure, along those lines.
Yeah,
But
turns out not healthy.
yeah,
Wildly unhealthy.
but beyond that, like this is the next step, man, and it's look as everybody talks about like the advancements of AI, and the way people talk about AI is so funny in like what it is versus what it actually is.
Yeah.
People think of like AI and like altering photos. Like, no, man, that's an algorithm that's just taking stuff up. It's not actually AI. AI is significantly beyond that. When you're talking about like advanced computations and being able to make decisions, like decision trees are what actually make AI. It's the same kind of thing here. It's like they've made this step, but this is still a very long way from being able to take, which I would assume they would take the vast majority of the DNA that they have in a woolly mammoth, which a lot of this stuff is coming from that frozen woolly mammoth that was basically whole that they found, was that 5-6 years ago now?
I don't know. I don't remember.
But
COVID time flat.
it was,
circle.
yeah, and
No idea.
you're not wrong. But they'd have to probably splice it with the DNA of a current elephant.
Oh.
To try to make this thing work, because even going back to Jurassic Park and the science that Michael Crichton used to write his book, they talk about they use the frog DNA that they kind of spliced into it to fill the gaps. Like that's still stuff that needs to be figured out. But this is both very cool and very terrifying. Like the woolly mammoth is the one getting all of the pub, as it were. Do we also need to bring back like the dodo?
No, I mean, no.
They're trying to.
Don't do it.
We
don't need the dodo back.
Is there anything else that you want to bring back besides like the dinosaurs?
No, I don't want the dinosaurs back.
You don't want the dinosaurs back?
I do not want the dinosaurs back. It's terrifying. Terrifying. And you know, what's really going to make this happen is if like our military can use them, right? The first thing that my thought went to with they've isolated the gene that makes the coat of the woolly mammoth grow is, they're going to use this for hair restoration, right? You're going to have a bunch of dudes.
That's actually what they're doing in Turkey.
You're going to have a bunch of dudes walking around with like woolly mammoth hair going on. You're like, I know that. Your actual hair that you're growing looks like the grandpa who has the visor with the hair on top.
You know,
that's going to be your hair look.
It also has like a very strong emo look because it's at the base it's very lighter colored and further out it's darker.
Yeah.
So you get not only new hair but it's pre-highlighted.
I would go if we're going to bring something back, saber-tooth tiger would be pretty awesome.
So you don't want to bring back dinosaurs, but you want to bring back the most ferocious killing machine in the feline planet.
Imagine if that one was in the bathroom in Las Vegas at the Hangover.
Right? More carnage.
Good Lord.
It'd be pretty cool.
There was a...
There's a lot of animals that I don't even know. Like I'm forgetting the names of them, but there were some pretty cool looking animals back in the day that we just like killed. I don't know, maybe the American buffalo.
Yeah, that's one. The ibex is up there. It's like kind of the crazy looking ram thing.
Sure, yeah.
The white rhino.
But yeah,
that was one that
let's do that.
Recently extinct, I think.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find some other ones that are in here. The soft shell turtle.
I mean, to be fair, how many kinds of rhinos do we need though?
There are 2 remaining wild Yangtze.
You serious, Clark?
They're at a zoo in Vietnam. The only 2 wild remaining soft shell turtles, the Yangtze soft shell turtles, which, as Darwinian examples go, if you've got a soft shell,
slow lizard.
See, that's one of those. Look, I watch way too much Food Network and Guy Fieri and stuff, and the Triple D. One thing I can't understand is on the East Coast their fascination with soft shell crab. I don't it. It looks absolutely like one of the most unappetizing things ever, and I don't get it.
Wait, I'm also reading through here. The dire wolf died out. You know, the giant wolf in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was real.
No, yeah,
I thought that was a fake thing.
No, we don't need that.
Wow.
No.
There's also a woolly rhinoceros.
Hey, Google has everything.
Goodness gracious! I'm learning
rhinos
all
are cool.
kinds of things here.
Rhinos are cool. Oh, hey, the great auk was a flightless bird that was hunted for food and used as a navigational beacon. It was a food source for Neanderthals and Native Americans. I just Googled most delicious extinct animal. I'm just saying, like, if we're going to bring one back,
for a food source?
Yeah, wouldn't that be the one that we bring back?
I bet you the steppe bison would probably be high on that list. Bison's tasty.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just
sustainable food sources. You bring it back.
I'm just
to
trying.
Be food.
I'm trying to, because like we've just named a bunch of like killing machines because those are the ones that we know. I mean, there could be something that our palates may want to have back in the rotation. I don't know. I like meat. I'm a meat eater.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this. All right, so that's our worst day on the web. All right, coming up next, did you see this, Dusty? The comments made about the NFL Combine, Shedeur Sanders not getting rave reviews from all of his interviews, and a couple teams up top. Matt Berry had some comments from people that were in the room, and Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns are fighting back over those comments. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Dude, have you seen
Do we
an
want
Irish
the
elk?
Blazers to win or
As we were talking about earlier with Tez Johnson and the combine results and then kind of what trickles out after. Shedeur Sanders meetings with a couple teams in the top 10 apparently did not go well, or it is leaking that it did not go well. And this is the nasty work that gets done, whether it's true or not, because they're trying to devalue guys left, right, and center, whether it's based on fact or it's based on fiction. This is what happens. You get cut down as teams see a potential way to maybe drive a player stock down to where their draft slot is at. We've seen this happen before, over and over and over again, as, I don't know, photos of gas masks with marijuana leak on draft night.
By your stepdad.
Just the
By your stepdad.
dumbest possible thing.
That was crazy.
That was Tunsil?
Yeah, Laramie Tunsil.
Turned out to be a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
I mean, I think he had more penalties than anybody else in the NFL this year,
So there's some issues.
right? I think that's right.
Look, nobody's perfect.
Let he who is not put on the gas mask cast the first stone. But both Todd McShay and Matt Berry are both echoing the same sentiments, which leads me to believe these teams want this out there very
Oh
specifically.
my gosh. He had 17 penalties against him this year.
So did he play all 17 games?
I don't know.
Won a game? That's good, right?
Wow, 15 of them pre-snap.
Oof.
Yikes.
Stuff. This is from Todd McShay on his show, The McShay Show. The two people that I spoke to were in meetings. Teams in the top 10 drafting that need a quarterback. The two people I spoke to in these positions left the meeting feeling Shedeur Sanders was not only concerned, was not overly concerned what they thought of him. They had a 15-minute meeting with them, and when they were done, they both said in different ways, different words, that they did not feel like Shedeur Sanders cared all that much about what the organization thought of him.
Okay, and look, we know this because Dion has flagged this. You know, Todd McShay says teams in the top 10, right? Do you remember what Dion said? Like, there's teams that he does not want his kid to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I would not doubt it one bit, because we see this happen all the time where a player interviews with a team that they do not want to go to and they bomb the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Like that happens. It's rare, but every year we hear of about one or two guys who do that, knowing that they don't want to go and play for a team. And like Dion flat out said it. My kid ain't going there, right? If he interviewed with Tennessee, do you think he wants to be in Tennessee?
Probably not.
Probably not. Probably not. It might have been Tennessee. It might have been Carolina. But one of these teams, New Orleans is a top 10 team, right? Shedeur sure as heck doesn't want to go 9th overall.
No.
But does he want to go and play for the New Orleans Saints and Kellen Moore and a first-year head coach? I don't know what team he's talking about, but I wouldn't put it past him to not give his honest, truthful, engaging self in an interview with the team he doesn't want to go play for.
Look,
The Jets.
I am going to say this, and I don't mean this as like, oh my God, I hate this kid, da-da-da-da. We interviewed Shedeur at Pac-12 Media Days.
Yep.
He wanted no part of it. He wanted no part of it. It was a very bad, very awkward, he very clearly did not want to be there. And
well, because they literally framed it as that was Pac-12 Media Days where Dion backed out at the last second and of the entire media day.
Yes.
And so he was getting put into interviews all the time.
Yes, and having to answer for that. And look, he's a kid, and I understood all that, but having had that experience with him, I can very easily understand how you could come out of a meeting with him, and if he just decided, nah, dog, I don't want to do this, I'm not interested. If you're in that meeting as part of that organization, I've seen it. We've seen what that looks like, and it's not hard to believe that. The flip side of this is Mary Kay Cabot, who's a longtime media member covering the Cleveland Browns, has come out and said his meeting with the Browns was great. They didn't come out of here feeling that he was brash or arrogant. This could also be the Browns being like, hey, we want you. We're thinking about this. We'd like to do this. And in that vein, the Cleveland Browns today have restructured again Deshaun Watson's contract to get them back underneath the cap. And they're also, it's still unclear just how much because he lost 10 games that insurance is actually going to cover of his contract from last year and going into this year, which will give them additional salary cap relief. So maybe they're trying to work their way down that path. And I'm sure that insurance thing, that they're still trying to find a way to get Deshaun Watson to medically retire, in which that case, they would definitely be looking at that quarterback.
They did
position.
get $36 million in relief.
Yes.
So you get $36 million in relief due to the restructure. I mean, that's a good chunk of change for Cleveland to continue to kind of build a roster. The restructure is fine. Get him the hell out of there.
Yes. Well, I think they're still working with the league.
They
and
have to.
insurance and everything else to try to get through that stuff.
That would be them moving forward with that. Actually, they deserve it.
For doing that,
like
yes.
I am so over the Cleveland Browns. It was a dirty move to bring him in the first place, to give him the contract that they did. They
$1
deserve
million
everything
deal.
that they're getting out of it.
Yeah. It sucks that it's going to screw over everybody else as far as the players.
And
but
you know what? Shador is probably sitting there going, you know what? I actually tried to bomb that interview. And the Browns might be like, no, that went great.
It went great, man.
It went fantastic. He's like, yeah, I tried to bomb that thing. I don't want to play for you. And they're just like, yeah, we didn't see that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're dealing with Deshaun Watson every day, I would imagine even Shador Sanders bombing an interview would probably feel like a bit of an improvement.
Man. Tell you what, though, like, Jameis Winston loves Deshaun Watson.
Jameis Winston, I think, loves everyone.
He does. He does.
That's one thing. The Jameis Winston experience in that vein is fun.
He might love everything because we know he loves crab legs.
He does.
And probably loves people, too.
Yeah, I'm down with it.
All the people.
But it's just one of those things.
Being a man of increase?
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things to file away in the back of your head as we get closer and closer to the NFL draft.
Do you think that Shador, when he was bombing the interviews, he just would sit down and say,
I want to look at you when I talk to you. Let's break bread.
I would love it if a player did that.
Oh, that gives me the heebie-jeebies, man.
God, I would love it if that happened.
Yeah, dang.
Hey, speaking of which, Gardner Minshew has been released by the Raiders, and he will find a new home.
oh, man,
Yeah,
I
that's
hope he
brutal,
does.
dude.
That is brutal, dude. Nah, that's brutal, dude. Maybe it is in
Duval.
Go back. Go back.
Of which Liam Cohen has taken responsibility for. Says he needs to work on his Duval. He addressed that head on. Which
Nah, that's brutal, dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
Learn from your mistakes, man. All right, coming up in hour number
he
3.
should.
I don't know if it's time to make the proclamation, but I think it's time to ask the question. The Portland Trailblazers did fall to the Boston Celtics, but yet again, Shaden Sharp had another very good performance. Has he started to turn the corner? Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust here with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, big news for Oregon football fans. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports reporting head coach Dan Lanning has agreed to a new deal that will raise his salary to nearly $11 million a year. Pending board approval, the deal will run through the 2030 season, and his buyout will remain at $20 million. In the association, the Trailblazers, they're off tonight. They wrap up their road trip tomorrow in Oklahoma City against the Thunder. Portland now 28-35 on the season, 4 games out of the final play-in spot. ESPN's Field Yates reporting the Browns have restructured the contract of quarterback Deshaun Watson, clearing nearly $36 million in cap space. The Bengals have given permission to defensive end Trey Hendrickson to seek a trade. Hendrickson led the NFL last season with 17.5 sacks and was a first-team All-Pro. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the 49ers have told defensive tackle Javon Hargrove he will be released on the first day of the league year next week. Diana Rossini of The Athletic reporting the Texans finalizing a trade to acquire Jaguars receiver Christian Kirk for a 2026 7th-round pick. Round 1 of the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill, one of the PGA Tour's signature events. And at the top of the leaderboard, now all by himself, Shane Lowry, 4 under through 17 holes. Right behind him are Keegan Bradley, Corey Connors, Christian Bezuidenhout, Rory McIlroy, and former Oregon Duck Wyndham Clark. 2 strokes off the pace, Justin Rose, and then at 1 under par, 3 strokes back are Scotty Scheffler and Colin Morikawa. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The original home of the Herd with Colin Cowherd. Weekdays 9 to noon, 1080 The Fan. Danny Meringue.
And then I went to this movie theater. Then I made a noise like this.
Dusty Hera.
Then this was horrible. All the people started getting sick and throwing up all over each other.
I'm beginning to like this kid much.
This is Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and Portland's sports leader, 1080. The Fan.
Hour number 3 on Danny and Dusty here on a Thursday afternoon. We're listening on 1080 AM, watching on youtube.com/1080am The Fan or twitch.tv/1080am The Fan. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for hanging out with us this wonderful, wonderful Thursday. The Portland Trailblazers do fall to the Boston Celtics last night, 128-118 behind the avalanche of Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, both scoring 40-plus points for the first time in Celtics history. 2 teammates do that. Anthony Simons had an amazing game, 12 of 21, 30 points, but lost in the shuffle is the continued success of Shaedon Sharpe. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 11 of 18 shooting, 3 of 7 from 3. Over his last 10 games, Shaedon Sharpe is now averaging 19 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists on 48, 35, 76 splits. That's pretty damn good.
It is, and that's like what everybody's just hoping for is you get more consistency out of Shaedon Sharpe. This is a good stretch for him. This is the best stretch that we've seen as far as consistent basketball with the effort. You know he can be explosive. You know he can score, but can he do the other things? And it's good to see that we're seeing this, but I mean, I find it interesting that we talk about this like it is a surprise when this should be the expectation of what we see from Shaedon Sharpe.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is that you look at this and hearing Shaedon, because he's been doing more post games, because he's been interviews, because he's been having productive nights. The thing that he keeps talking about is the non on the court stuff. It's the knowledge, it's the learning, it's the getting more comfortable, it's the understanding. And this is all sounding very, very, very similar to what we saw from Scoot Henderson. It's all sounding very similar to Toumani Camara. And I want to give him the credit because this, like, you can have this opportunity and you can throw it away because we've seen guys do it. We've seen guys not take these opportunities, not take these chances. And for all of the Chauncey Billups is a terrorist for not playing Shaedon Sharpe, not playing Scoot Henderson, not playing Toumani Camara last year, it seems like he's hit it right on the nose with all 3 of those guys. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing is, look, I will keep saying this. I still think that the right course of action for them was to turn the water off post All-Star break and to try to improve their lottery odds. But if you're going to do something else, we're now 20 games remaining. If you're going to play meaningful basketball, and these guys, Scoot, Tu, Denny, Shaedon, are going to give you this and show you that growth and take advantage of those opportunities and be real guys in games of consequence, the measure of data and things you can draw from it are tangible. They are real. And Joe Cronin said it in the post-trade deadline press conference. And I 100% believe that he means it. He is not going to get in the way of them pursuing the play-in. I don't think they want to make the play-in and convey the pick to the Chicago Bulls. It would hurt them. And I think the front office is willing to admit that.
What would hurt them? This is the thing. Are you going to get a star player at that pick?
I don't think you ever know that for sure.
But the reality is,
it's
historically speaking, no. You're going to get another role player. And that does nothing for this organization.
It's an infusion of talent on a young, controlled contract.
But what it does is it opens up the next few years of picks to where you can do whatever you want.
To legally do it because that pick is protected until 2027. If you're going to look at this as a glass half full, it would unlock all of their future picks to be able to be traded. Now, they can do that otherwise by putting different guarantees and protections on other things, but it would allow that absolutely, totally to be a possibility.
Which I think is a pretty big thing. It would
require the extra steps.
The path that you're going down is, all right, we're going to be good enough to make a play-in and then add another player who's good enough but not good enough to get you over the hump, right? Mm-hmm. Then you're just stuck. And if trading for a player is going to be how the Portland Trailblazers get that star, you want every way possible to trade for that player.
But that also pertains to this potential pick because the likelihood is that it will stay basically where it's at. It likely won't move up in the top 4.
Look,
but again, and this is why you don't move that pick until the lottery. That's why you don't make a move at the deadline that uses that pick, right?
Yep.
Because if on the off chance that it does, and I'm going to talk about number 1 and the 1% odds or whatever that is, I'm talking about moving into the top 4. Because if you do move into the top 4, that does change things. Not only with who you could potentially draft, but also who you could potentially target in a trade if you were going to go down that path. Mm-hmm. That opens up a lot of doors if all of a sudden, Cooper Flagg's off the table to say you move up to 4th, and you're looking at one of VJ Edgecombe, Kasparis Giacchionis, Trey Johnson, that next tier of guys who's very good, that a team would be like, we like that. Mm-hmm. We're very much interested in what you have to offer there, which is why you don't move that now. But it very much appears because even in Shaedon Sharpe's quote-unquote down games in these stretches, I think the lowest scoring game he's had in his last 7 is 18. But in that game, he also was incredibly effective on the glass. He had a career-high 11 rebounds. You were getting stuff out of Shaedon Sharpe beyond scoring. You are getting impactful plays on the defensive end, whether it's a chase down block or deflection and a run out, grabbing rebounds in traffic. I don't think he hasn't rounded the corner, but you can see him starting to turn the corner. And I think that might be the singular most important thing from a player development standpoint for the Trailblazers over the final 20 games.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that they're looking at. To the point of Joe Cronin not wanting to turn the spigot off and not want to get in the way of them gunning for a plane. And the most important thing is player development right now. With the growth that we've seen from Scoot and consistency of Scoot, the growth and consistency that we've seen of Shaedon Sharpe, couldn't you just have those things and not continue to play Jeremy Grant and not play Anthony Simons to the level that he is playing?
I think if you're talking about pursuing the play-in...
Well, no. I'm just talking about growth and not getting in the way of that growth. You can still do that and not have Anthony Simons play 38 minutes or, put him on, one of those more rest nights, not really vying for and gunning for spots, shutting down Jeremy Grant. I think you could still get all of those things.
Oh no, I still think you could get those things, but I think they are saying yes, you can make a run with a plan, and I think the reason why you wouldn't shut down Ant in this vein is because Ant has been so good, and they aren't going to disrupt that and give them a legitimate chance to try to make the play-in, which is what Joe Cronin has said publicly. And again, I'm on the other side of that argument where I still believe that they should have chased the lottery odds. But if you're going to go down this path, Shaden is playing great. 2 is playing great.
Yeah.
Denny is playing great. Ant is playing his best basketball this season, and Scoot is playing incredibly solid basketball.
This is the thing that has frustrated Blazer fans for years, right? During the Neil O'Shea era was say you want one thing, do something different. Mm-hmm. Say you don't want that pick to convey, right? Or say you want to make the play-in, but also feel like you don't want that pick to convey.
Well, I don't think you ever want to give
both of those things. They don't go hand in hand with each other.
No, but it's also not black and white. That's not how this stuff goes, and that's just the reality of it. Nobody wants to convey a pick.
I think though this is black and white with what the Blazers need and what they have and where they are. It's a black and white thing. You need a star.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is the best way to get one with this organization?
Through the draft.
Okay. That's it.
Sure.
I mean,
I agree, but
we all know it.
If they're gonna go down this path, then go down this path.
Yeah, and then let's not hear about they don't want the pick to go away, because you're going down this path because you're saying, well, we're okay with that pick being gone.
Sure, but
and then that is
they're quote unquote okay, but you don't want to. It's not black and white. You don't want to convey a pick ever. You don't want to give up an asset that you don't have to give up. That's the whole point of whether or not a pick conveys or not.
But you're not going.
But you're willing to sacrifice it if that's what happens. You don't want to, but you're willing to, and I think there's a very real difference between those two.
Yeah, things. I mean if
they earned it,
another stuck spot. But look, again, they're still what? 4 games behind, or 4 games behind Dallas right now for the.
It's still very tough. 4 games in 20 is a difficult proposition to make.
Yep.
And the Suns are also still in between.
Yeah.
And with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, it's still a possibility, as it were.
And you want to watch a team turn it on? They could say, "Hey, we're going to let you play for the play-in," and then at the end of the year, just go, "No, okay, now we're turning it off."
Yeah.
And say. It was final 3 games. We're fine.
The math is the math, and it goes. It's not like you would need 6 different things to come together, and then
Yeah, like beating Sacramento and then beating Minnesota.
Yeah, no. There's I did the it's a win, it's a loss thing through that, and on the math it was they need to win probably 12 of the final 13 of the final 20, and I got to 9, and then there was 3 or 4 in there where I went, I don't know about those. Those are. You're asking an awful lot, and that's without taking in all the other factors of the other teams. So I just look, we've been hard on Sharp here through the first 60 games of the season. I wanted to give him his flowers because he has started to really show what he is capable of doing.
It's good to see.
It is. All right, coming up next, the Oregon Ducks. Well, they're going to keep their man, Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
The best.
The Oregon Ducks are going to write the check. Dan Lanning going to be paid as one of the top 5 coaches in college football, $11 million a year. They get the extension through 2030, and they maintain the buyout clause at $20 million. So if somebody wants to come try to poach, it's going to cost you. Of which, in college football, maybe I'm wrong here, Dusty, but I feel like the buyout period, because college football has become so monetized, that is not going to be as prevalent as it was basically over a 10-year stretch.
The buying out a coach?
Yeah, because of how much money you are now openly spending and the figures that continue to grow.
Yeah.
I think that you're probably looking at ADs and presidents and provosts around the country going, yeah, we really like this coach, but we're not paying $20 million on top of what we're going to also have to pay them.
Yeah, and that
it's nice.
Well, and their staff too, because
it's good protection.
It is a great protection. And now you're looking at it like, look, for all of the people that will say, well, Oregon fell short. They have improved every year under Dan Lanning.
Not only that, 130 other teams fell short.
He is now being paid as one of the top 5 coaches in all of college football. And he's actually, in more so in that, is he is getting paid on par with the main coaches in the conference that he coaches in. And Oregon started his salary at $4.7 million when they hired him as a 35-year-old first-time head coach.
Taking a real risk, but gave him real money.
This is his 4th season. It's up to $11 million. And you look at the coaches that are ahead of him, they're the guys that have won national championships. Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney, Ryan Day will be there. And now he is on par with the best coaches in the Big Ten. And that's where he should be, right?
Look,
he should be ahead of James Franklin at Penn State, who gets paid $8.5 million, and Lanning last year was right around there and in that window. And when he hit all of his bonuses, skyrocketed that. But he should be right in the Ryan Day neighborhood there. And he's in the Lincoln Riley neighborhood of his reported salary, which is, $10 million a year at USC, which doesn't report, so we don't truly know what he makes.
Also a $16 million mansion that the school covers.
But you are talking about that list of coaches that have won national titles in college football is Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney, Ryan Day.
Look, I am far
he's
from
right behind those guys.
I am about as far away from Duck apologist as you'll ever find.
He's a damn good coach.
Who's a better coach in college football than Dan Lanning?
Well,
no, I mean legitimately, who's a better coach right now? Can you name 10?
No, you can't.
Okay.
You can't name 10.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
If he's in the mix of being in the top 10, his age, his early success, and his recruiting all factor into the outlook going forward.
And I think one of the ridiculous things that people will bring up is, well, a lot of coaches could do what Lanning's doing with the resources that Oregon has.
Then how come no other coach there did?
Well, the times are different, but I don't think that is correct either.
Look, man,
because there are several universities, like Phil Knight has a ton of resources,
yes,
right? And
but
he pumps them in.
One man.
But so does Texas A&M.
So does Texas. So does USC.
Georgia.
So does Georgia.
Tennessee.
Ohio State.
Penn State. Alabama. LSU. Florida.
Yes.
Florida State. They all have resources. They all pump money in.
Look, Nike has the $1 billion. There are 2 billionaires in the state of Oregon. One of them is Phil Knight. The other one is the CEO and founder of NVIDIA, who is an Oregon State and Stanford alum. Those are your only 2 billionaires in the state. Yeah, Phil Knight helped build Oregon. It's a fact. But beyond that, Oregon is not a state that is just littered with millionaires. I'll use USC as an example. USC has, again, it's all private. The number of millionaires they have donating to USC is staggering.
Yep.
Texas, it is staggering. You're just talking about sheer mass of population centers and graduates tied to those universities. Oregon does not crank out graduates because it is in a state that is, number one, not that populated, and people from all over the country haven't flocked to for 50 years. You're talking about in schools in Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, Florida, USC. Stanford has an endowment of what? Was it $30 billion across the school? $32 billion?
Yeah.
There are other institutions that have even more resources than Oregon. It's just a fact. But Lanning has done everything possible short of winning a title. He's won a Big Ten championship.
Year one.
He's had big-time recruiting classes. He's been successful. Yeah, has he lost some games? Yes. Yeah. But my God, his run of success, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, it has been. And
who's been better than him over the last 3 years?
From a win-loss percentage? I don't know.
Ryan Day? Is that the list?
Well, and how many active coaches have a championship under their belt?
Well, yeah, it's Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney, Ryan Day.
Yeah.
List.
That's a pretty short list.
It's a short list, man. And Oregon, I think, is doing the right thing here. They're getting him paid commensurate with where he's at. They're protecting him, or they're protecting him and themselves from any potential snipers that want to come and try to steal him away.
And we talked about this in hour number 1, too, when we initially went through this. It is the big thing is it's not just your ability to recruit. It is roster retention and coach retention. And to this point, it has been elite with Lanning. That means players like to play for him, coaches like to coach for him, and that's how you breed success year after year after year, right? When Clemson took a step back, it was when they lost their offensive and defensive coordinators to Dabo Swinney, where they had such great continuity. Nick Saban is truly the outlier with the turnover that he has, right? There is a lot of stability with Kirby Smart in his staff. Coordinators may come and go, but your position coaches, those guys, having them stick around and having them stay is really important. This is year 4 with Tosh Lupoi and Dan Lanning. This is year 3 with Will Stein and Dan Lanning. And then you go down the list of guys that have stuck around for another year. You're going to get 1 or 2 assistant coaches peeled off every year. But can you keep your core? That's important, man. And now you're bringing back guys like Alik Terry. Rashad Samples turns down head coaching opportunities to return as your running backs coach and get promoted up, right? They are pulling guys like Chris Hampton from Tulane, who was a defensive coordinator, to be a co-defensive coordinator and secondary coach. That is another huge reason that people miss in the world of college football. It just comes down to wins and losses and recruiting. There is a lot more to it. And there right now, the Souths, he's mixing it right now, and it's Kirby Smart making 13 this next year. Ryan Day makes 12. Lanning and Dabo, along with Steve Sarkisian, all 3 of those guys going to be making $11 million. That's your list of the 5 highest paid coaches in college football, and deserving so.
Where were those guys in the college football playoff?
Well, yeah, they were all there, and it's the 3 coaches that have won one. Lanning and Sark, you're seeing their programs rise.
Yeah, the math is mathing.
Pretty
right
damn
now.
good.
Yeah,
pretty damn good. If you're a Duck fan, it's a good time.
Yes,
it's a good time to be a Duck fan.
Coming up next,
he wants to be there, unlike Willie Taggart and Mario Cristobal.
There you go, and that also matters infinitely.
Huge.
Coming up next, Chris Haynes has been sitting down with Damian Lillard for the Behind the Bucks podcast. He had LaMarcus Aldridge on, which we talked about the other day, but he also had Damian Lillard talking about his final days as a Portland Trailblazer and kind of what led to his eventual exit. We'll get to that and more, but first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
That's that Hawaiian burger joint.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on The Fan, big news for Oregon football fans. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports reporting head coach Dan Lanning has agreed to a new deal that will raise his salary to nearly $11 million per year. Pending board approval, the deal will run through the 2030 season, and his buyout stays at $20 million. In the association, the Trailblazers are off tonight. They wrap up their road trip tomorrow in Oklahoma City against the Thunder. The Blazers are 28-35 on the season, 4 games out of the final play-in spot. ESPN's Field Yates reporting the Browns have restructured the contract of quarterback Deshaun Watson, clearing nearly $36 million in cap space. The Bengals have given permission to defensive end Trey Hendrickson to seek a trade. Hendrickson led the NFL last season with 17.5 sacks. and was a first-team All-Pro. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the 49ers have told defensive tackle Javon Hargrove he will be released on the first day of the league year next week. Diana Rossini of The Athletic reporting the Texans finalizing a trade to acquire Jaguars wide receiver Christian Kirk for a 2026 seventh-round pick. And NFL Network's Mike Garafolo reporting the Giants re-signing quarterback Tommy DeVito, so Tommy Cutlets will stay in New York. Round 1 of the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. It's a PGA Tour signature event. And now, all of a sudden, alone at the top of the leaderboard, former Oregon Duck Wyndham Clark, 4 under through 17 holes. He is 1 stroke clear of Keegan Bradley, Corey Connors, Christian Bezuidenhout, and Shane Lowry, who are all in the clubhouse. 2 strokes clear also of Rory McIlroy. Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, Justin Thomas, and Justin Rose are all at 1 under par, 3 strokes back. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The ultimate basketball party, Fan Madness, is back. March 20th and 21st at the Stadium Sports Bar at A&A Sportsbook. More info at 1080thefan.com.
More and more is now coming out about Damian Lillard's final few months as a Portland Trailblazer as he sits down with Chris Haynes on the Behind the Bucks podcast. Obviously, Dame very tight with Chris Haynes after the relationship that he built with Chris Haynes here in Portland over the years. And more and more is kind of coming out is what kind of led to Damian Lillard's departure, of which Dame explains in his own words.
I sat there and watched the draft with my dad in Paris. We watched it together. It was late as hell in Paris. Everybody else had laid down. Me and my dad was sitting on the couch watching the draft. And I remember, I knew my dad never wanted me to, like, leave Portland because I remember, like, the first pick went and then the second pick went. And I remember him sitting there, he was like, watch, they finna trade the pick right here, watch. I'm like, bruh, they picking in 30 seconds. And the two, Wemby and Brandon Miller is off the board already. The writing is on the wall. He like, nah, watch them. Like, they gon', he thought a trade was finna pop up. I'm like, so the pick happened. They picked Scoot. And even then, I wasn't like, I'm out, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, where do you go from here? You know what I'm saying? Like, you still got Ant, you still got Shaden, now you got Scoot, you got me. If it all fails, you know, you're going to trade the 33-year-old at the time.
Yikes.
I've talked about this. I was in communication with Damian Lillard on that draft night as this was going on. And he wasn't thrilled. Just, you know, he kind of...
Yeah, they were drafting his replacement.
And to be totally clear, Dame never had anything and has never had any issue with Scoot Henderson.
No.
That it was never part of this. But leading up to that, the Portland Trailblazers did have discussions about trading that pick. That's what Dame is talking about there. I've alluded to it in the past. I think they had very, very, very real discussions. Not even I think. I know they had very real discussions about trading that pick and where it would go and what they would get back. And I think they made the right choice in not dealing that pick in that exact deal. But if you go back to that press conference, the question I asked Joe Cronin was, Joe, how do you expect to get those four players on the floor when there is 90-ish minutes between those four guys, and you're going to go ahead and 30 plus, 33 are going to go to Dame, 30 plus are going to go to Anthony Simons, and you want to move Shaden Sharp into this, and he's probably going to get 25 to 30. Where does Scoot Henderson factor into this? And in that moment, Joe Cronin did not have a good answer because he knew the crossroads that he was running into, that a decision would have to be made. One of Scoot Henderson or Damian Lillard was going to have to go. And I think at that point in time, they still were trying to figure out a way to make that work with Dame. I believe
I know, but it would have been impossible to do.
It was an impossible task. And look, this is not a shot at Joe nor a shot at Dame. I think both knew. And I wrote about this after Dame was officially traded to the Bucks, almost 2 years ago now. Both knew it was time. Neither wanted to be the bad guy. Joe Cronin had basically just taken over the job and had not been. It was his first full year, coming off of Neil O'Shea's firing at the end of the calendar year of 2021. It was his first full season, no longer being the interim. If your first move is to voluntarily trade Damian Lillard, you're signing your own death warrant as GM among the fan base. And he did what I think every GM does in that instance, and he made Damian Lillard be the guy that demanded to be traded. And Dame didn't want to do it.
Right.
Dame did not want to do it.
And he talked about on the Blazers not trading that pick.
And I remember telling them, like, hey, if we get number one and y'all get Wemby, I remember saying it like, that's perfect if we get him. And it was like, if we don't, it's going to be an asset that we can really use, like people going to want it. We're going to be able to really do some stuff. I was like, cool. And that just didn't end up being the route that the Blazers chose. And it just didn't make sense, at that point if I wanted to win, it was just like, we could be a competitive team, but like I had done that.
And that's what you're talking about right there. And that neither one wanted to be the bad guy, but everybody knew. And Damian Lillard absolutely knew that when they didn't trade it, that was it. It was game over, and the writing was on the wall.
It was the beginning of the end.
What anybody said.
And I've talked to Damian about this scenario multiple times. And he's when the possibility going into that lottery that they could move up and get Wemby, he flat out said, if we get that dude, I ain't going anywhere. Like I'm staying for that. And I think even had the Charlotte Hornets, had they taken Scoot Henderson and the Blazers got Brandon Miller, I think there's a coin toss chance that Dame stays.
There's a better and easier conversation to have with him about, all right, you can start moving your roster around to make it make sense to be competitive and stay here.
Do you play Brandon at the 3 and do some version of, Dame Ant with Shea being your 6th man, Brandon Miller playing the 3, which I think he's capable of doing, but I think he has more of an advantage creation as a 2. But it's workable.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more feasible and much more workable. But the second it became another, and this is not a knock on Scoot, it's very much the same as Dame. Those guys are ones. They are a singular position. They are a point guard. They are a guard. It's a lot like Donovan Clingan. Donovan Clingan ain't never swinging down to the 4. He is a 5. And when you don't have that positional versatility to try to make it work like you could with a Brandon Miller, it just closed the door.
The sliding doors that could have come from that are, the Phoenix Suns would have DeAndre Ayton and Toumani Camara still. And Dame could still be in Portland. Like, look, I know he's calling it Behind the Bucks, but Haynes just needs to change the name of this podcast to Behind Blazers Trauma, because that's all that this has been so far.
The last 2 episodes, it's just been that.
That's really all that it's been, is opening up Blazer fans' trauma and having to go and sort through it. So thanks, Chris. Appreciate you, man.
It is interesting, and it does serve as sort of the inflection point, as it were, in the transition for the Blazers. And it makes me wonder what this summer is going to actually end up being a step forward for them. Do they make a move with Anthony Simons? Do they make a move with Jeremy Grant? Do they make a move with their draft capital and a player to go do something else and push this thing forward? Or does it end up being static? And it's one of those things where it's like,
better not be static.
Yeah, no, it needs to be it. But it also kind of goes to show you the structure of team building and when you talk about bringing in the guy, look what adding Wemby has done to the Spurs.
It's been huge, man.
It allows them to not only reset everything they've done, but now you have the allure. De'Aaron Fox was the guy who was like, I need to get there before anybody else gets there. Because I could tell you 5 all-stars, like under 26 all-star caliber players. Or
Those are good to have.
Actual all-stars.
Those are good to have.
That were fighting to get to San Antonio. And Fox is like, I got to get there first. Because
smart by him.
It is. Hitching your wagon to that guy. Look, Dame has said it publicly. He wanted to play with Giannis. He tried to bring Giannis to Portland.
Yeah.
Like,
they got close.
And he was like, look, man, I know how good I am as a player. That dude's different.
Yep.
And he did the same thing when he looked at Wemby. He may not be him right now, but I know how quickly he can be him.
No doubt about it.
And I can give you 3, maybe 4 more years of some facsimile of what I have been in my prime alongside that guy, and we can do real damage.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the fates just didn't align, and that's where you end up. Ugh. Coming up next, we'll put a nice little bow on today's show.
Trade in the NFL.
Oh, what we got?
Christian Kirk to the Texans.
Oh, there we go. We'll dive in the next here. Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. take my chance to go full Roger Goodell here. We have a trade.
Yeah, man. This is an interesting one because of the fact that he was going to be released, and now what you're seeing is a low-end swap. The Houston Texans have traded a 7th-round pick, which isn't even their 7th-round pick. It's one that they got from the Los Angeles Rams, to the Jacksonville Jaguars for wide receiver Christian Kirk. And this comes on the heels of an announcement yesterday that Tank Dell, because of the massive knee injury with the dislocation, MCL, LCL, ACL ruptures that he had back in January, because he had an MCL, LCL on January 15th, they need the rest of the leg to heal before they could go in for the ACL.
Oh, you mean they don't do it all at once?
So he yesterday went in for a reconstruction of his ACL. And so he is obviously, nobody was expecting him to be back for the 2025 season anyway. But there was a need. They needed another receiver to put alongside Nico Collins. Now they can slide in Christian Kirk as their stopgap guy at the receiver position. Smart move by Houston and Jacksonville. Instead of, they're just wiping their hands of Christian Kirk. Anyways, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
They get a
little
7th-round
something,
pick anyway.
and the Texans don't have to vie for his services on the market.
Yep, and so it works for both teams. I'm sure Christian Kirk is happy to go
to a good team with a great quarterback.
Go there and do the damn thing, man. You have C.J. Stroud. You have somebody alleviating the pressure from you on the other side in Nico Collins. You're going to be sitting okay.
What does this mean for the world of Stephon Diggs? Does this mean he's on the? Does this mean he's going to definitely be on the market?
Well, I mean, there's already odds out there on his next team, so yeah.
Like as we dive in, like I know we do this every year. Does this feel like the NFL is getting NBA'd a little bit with how much and how often and how frequent transactions are kind of popping up now? It feels like the NFL was the league without much movement, and now it feels like it's moving. It's swinging towards being a much more active marketplace in the offseason.
We definitely are seeing bigger names move. And I mean, Christian Kirk is not one of those bigger names, but this is like the movement that you're used to seeing. Mm-hmm. I think what we're seeing is teams are far more willing to let a good player go. And that is new in the NFL. It's saying we can find your replacement.
I think it's interesting too that this is a intra division trade too.
Yeah, which is very different. Two AFC South teams that are dealing a player, and I mean, I think that tells you the value of Christian Kirk, right?
Sure. No, look, he's a replacement level or slightly above replacement level wide receiver.
Yeah.
But again, I think you're just seeing teams being smarter. Sounds so reductive. But I don't think it's being more efficient in how they handle business.
Yeah.
Like this is something that makes sense for both teams. The Texans are like, hey man, we're not going to be in the market for insert wide receiver here. But what we can do is we can get a totally fine, capable, professional wide receiver who like we know and we can trust. And it's not going to really cost us anything. And we don't have to go out there and bid against it. And it's a protected asset. And on the other side, the Jaguars can go, hey, instead of just cutting this guy, we can get something out of this. And it's what we're talking about. The whole idea of both sides being happy, both sides accomplishing a goal. It seems like the transactions in the NFL are moving more towards that direction.
Yeah, and with the way that the cap is growing, and you're starting to see, like it used to be, this movement would be for offensive linemen, defensive linemen, but you're seeing it more with receivers and guys who get the ball because their pay has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And the receivers, especially like running backs, dime a dozen,
They're
right?
still
Bye. But when you see guys that like a Stephon Diggs, who is a diva, and I think a lot of teams are sitting there and saying, maybe we don't need him around. He's a good player. Maybe we don't need him around. That's fine with us. And And the juice isn't going to be worth the squeeze because he is good enough to sit there and argue for top dollar, but he's not good enough for us to want to give it to him. And I think it's actually a healthy place for the NFL to be in because it's not hurting you tremendously.
No.
It doesn't hurt the product at all.
Speaking of trades, also we mentioned Trey Hendrickson has been granted the opportunity to go seek a trade from the Cincinnati Bengals. The number one landing spot in odds and fit.
Ooh.
The Washington Commanders.
Really?
Yes. That is you want to talk about a hand in glove fit?
Interesting.
I like that.
I
like that fit.
That's a big one. That could be a landscape shifter because, look, there's smoke to Myles Garrett to Philly, Myles Garrett to Washington. And this is what we were talking about. Now you have Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, both given permissions to go out and seek trades.
And Joey Bosa on the market.
And then Joey Bosa is the hired gun, the mercenary to go to whatever team. You have two guys that could be long-term. One guy is a stopgap. There's plenty of these guys that are out there, and contenders have got to be thrilled that
Commanders could be a spicy little meatball next year, man.
Yeah, and look, you just got to hope you don't get the sophomore slump.
Yeah,
you can't get the sophomore slump from
Jane
Daniels, which happens. Like we saw it with C.J. Stroud this year. It does happen, and it happens more often than people would like to admit. All right, that does it for us today. Tomorrow, it is a Danny and Ortner edition.
It is.
I will be gone. I'll be back on Monday. Probably still hungover.
Don't you threaten me with it.
But up next, you got 4 hours of power from their mouths to your ears. It's prime time with Ice Good Souk right here on The Fan.
Bye.
Wu-Tang is for the children.
Danny Marang here, and I've got a question for you. Are your old windows costing you money on your energy bills? Or maybe your bathroom is stuck in a time warp and needs a serious upgrade? Well, I've got the answer. YHIC, your home improvement company. These guys are a game changer for your home, and here's